What's going on, everybody? It is Friday night. It's the LRB after party. Gonna wait a couple minutes for the alerts to go out. And the Zen Ginger was the first one in the stream. While I'm waiting, let me know how the sound is. Hopefully it's working. Audio and video is good. That's excellent. So I don't need to check that. Pam's here. How's it going, Pam? Cody's son's here. Hope everybody's having a good Friday. It's the start of everybody's weekend. Unfortunately, I have to work tomorrow. But it's going to be a busy weekend. Lumpy Dog's here, just stopping in and show some love. Can't stay long. Cheers. Cheers, bud. But yeah, I got work tomorrow, and then I'm going to my parents' house for dinner. And I got to fix my mom's car while I'm there. And then Sunday, there's only 2 weekends left at the ATV park. So me and some buddies are going to get the four-wheelers out and go to the ATV park on Sunday. And then we're going to try to go again next weekend for the last weekend of the season. Most of the ATV parks around here close down right around this time just because of once it snows, there's a huge liability of accidents, especially the ATV parks in southern Ohio where it's very mountainous. There's a lot of shale and stuff that's difficult in the dry to navigate. So once you add ice and slush and snow to it, it becomes very hazardous. So they shut down just because of the risk of injury. But I want to talk about a few things tonight. This is not going to be a 2-hour live stream like last weekend because I do have to work tomorrow. I just got done doing the orders from tonight. General Cure is once again on top of everybody's orders. It's basically as soon as I get it in, it's selling immediately. So if anybody's ordered from YouTube, thank you. I can see that people have been using the discount code, and that's the main reason I do that, is so I can track, just on the business side of things, seeing where my orders are coming from. So the discount codes, I've always mentioned this, but there's like the YouTube, there's Cafe for the Cafe members, and then there's different discount codes for different channels and things like that. But fish things, so winter is coming. It was extremely cold today, and it's only getting colder. We had a freeze warning. It snowed like flurries yesterday or last night for trick or treat, and my room, this office, is extremely cold. It's always been the coldest room in my house, and I have my Beta sitting over here. And I knew that the tank was going to get too cold, so I bought a heater, and I'm testing it out. It's one of the preset, it's an Aqua Top Nano. They have two sizes. This is the 25 watt one. They have a 15 watt one, but I feel like 15 watts, I mean, let's be honest, it's probably good for like a little bowl. And I forget what they said this is good up to. They said this is like for up to like 8 gallons. So I decided to give it a try. It's preset to 77 degrees, so it's in that tank, and it's working. This room is actually very cold now. I would say it's probably mid to low 60s in this room. So I immediately put a heater in that tank today, and it's up to temp. It's working. I bought some extra heaters. Once I've used that one for a while and make sure it doesn't have any bugs. Aqua Top's a good brand. I don't expect to have any issues with it, but I bought a few extras. I'll put them on the website after I use that one for at least a week or two and see how I like it. It's pretty small, so that's why I decided to get it. That's what that cable's hanging out of the aquarium that you can see. It was kind of emergency, get it in there and get this temperature up. I'll reroute that cable to go out by the filter, so that way you don't see it coming out the top, because I don't like seeing a bunch of cables coming out of a rimless tank. So that was the one thing. Well, here's the other thing. I've been using... So I use Tetra tropical granules in all my tanks, and then with the goldfish I rescued, they came with the food that the guy was using, and it was Tetra Pro goldfish crisps. And it was a little container, and I ran out, and the fish loved it, so I bought the big version of it. And I've been using it now for... I'm trying to think how long I've had this fish. It's been almost a month now. And these things are actually pretty awesome. So I haven't personally used any Tetra products other than the tropical granules. And they go crazy for this. And the gourami that's in that tank also loves this stuff. So I'm going to mess around with this until probably this can's gone. Which, I mean, this is going to last a long time. And see how it works. And so far I love it. And if it still seems like I like it, I might add this to the fish foods online. Because I really like it. It floats, which is huge. And then it'll eventually start sinking. But the Tetra tropical granules don't really work. The goldfish will eat them, but they sink super fast. And the goldfish, like as soon as I come into the room, they're at the top, waiting for food. So I really wanted a floating food. This is the other thing. So I don't want to say a big investment, but I did make an investment, and I bought a 3D printer. And there's a website called Thingiverse, and they have all the different kinds of prints that you can download for free, and you can print it. And this actually just got done like 10 minutes ago. And give me a second. There's a plastic string on this. I'll have to trim that off. But what this is a bonsai tree. And you're thinking, what the heck do you do with this? It doesn't look like a tree. So I'm going to pop you guys onto... Did I close it? I closed it. We're going to go over to Thingiverse real quick. And I'm going to show you what this thing ends up being. Just Shrimp Granny says that would look cool with moss in it. So apparently you're stalking me and you know everything I'm doing. Just kidding. But yes, that's what it's for. And the only thing with Thingiverse is that their website is super slow. They need to upgrade their servers. So this is... So there's the print. That's it there. So that's what it looks like in CAD. And then once you print it, it is... Where's... Oh, I'm using the wrong mouse. So once you print it, I use black. And this is the only color I have right now. I need to get different colors. And this is PLA. And PLA is like a corn-based filament, and it's fish tank safe, but the issue with PLA is it absorbs water, so it can swell. And so I want to test this out and see, does it swell up like a lot, or are they just saying like, when it comes to like micro dimensions, it swells up a little bit. There's other plastics that are aquarium safe and that don't do that. ABS is one of them. The downside to printing ABS is that it smells. From my father's got a 3D printer, and that's kind of what got me into this, because he was the one that was printing me all these 3D printed tags for my racks. And I decided with the aquarium hobby, there's a lot of things I can print with it, so I decided to buy one and play around with it. But ABS is one of the ones that's perfectly fine in the tank, but it smells when you actually print it. The printer is in my house, so that would be an issue with making your house smell like melted plastic. This doesn't smell at all. Like, the only way you know this thing's printing is that once in a while the power supply fan kicks on. It's not even that loud, you just hear it. But other than that, you don't smell this at all. And then there's another plastic called I think it's PETG. It's another plastic that won't swell up in the water. So that's what I would end up using like long term. It's just more expensive, and for me to like learn how all this works, I didn't want to go the expensive route right off the bat. But so you end up with this once you print it, and you put moss in it. So here's some moss that they put on the top, and it looks like they might put a little bit in the middle, and then they have like a rock in the bottom, I guess, holding it down. This plastic sinks, but it's not centered. Like, this is off of the center line, so this wants to fall over, so that's why that rock's there. And then after a while, it kind of grows into this. And I saw this picture, and I was like, man, that looks pretty cool. And I immediately thought shrimp would love that. And I'm like, it's kind of a cool shape. And you lose, in this picture, you lose a lot of the definition of, where is it? This is not it. This is like, I don't know, this must have been the guy's part of his prototyping. I don't really have a good angle. So there's two separate trunks, if you will, and once you get it fully grown, you kind of lose that. But if you keep up with the aquascaping and keep this trimmed, especially like down here where it just looks like a giant bush, I think this will look super awesome. And even this guy has it in a shrimp tank, so it's something I want to try. And my Christmas moss is growing like weeds right now, so I'm going to use my Christmas moss to basically duplicate this and see how it works, see how it comes out. And that's one thing I wanted to try. The other thing I printed were these moss racks, and I printed some that are, it says they're stackable, which I don't really know the purpose of that, because the layer height between the stacks, like the shelves, if you will, is so short that you wouldn't ever have anything growing in between them. But I printed off just like rectangular ones, so I can super glue moss onto it and then be able to transport that between my tanks and or sell them, because I know my local fish store, when they sell moss, it comes on like a little stainless steel square. It might be 3 inches by 3 inches, and that's how the moss is sold. So I'm looking at printing more of them. I got some printing right now. They're round ones. They're not that big. They're smaller than this feeder dish, but so I got a bunch of those printing, and I'm going to try to sell moss online, and it'll come in that plastic mat. Let me catch up on the chat real quick. Don says, I feed tropical crisps. My fish love them, and they float, then start to sink. Yeah, so that's what I'm at right now. These goldfish are just, I haven't had goldfish in like 20 years, but I'm pretty sure they all just eat whatever you'll put in front of them. But they definitely go for it, and the gourami likes it too. And my gourami's been kind of a picky eater. When the gourami was in my 75 gallon with the cichlids, I would feed, I think it's Tetra. Is it Tetra? I think it's Tetra's floating cichlid sticks. And with the gourami, I would have to break them up really small, and was kind of picky with them. But with these goldfish crisps, the gourami's been eating them right there with the goldfish, so that is good too. Let me see. Jess says, try a bunch of Nana Petite or Boost. Physidins moss would love that. Shrimp would love it. Test it with Physidins. Physidins like height. Please hit the like. Yeah, so there's like so many different things you can try. So I think it was mainly designed to be with moss. That's why it's so like mesh or hollowed out, so the moss can grow out of it. Um, but yeah, like I have Nana Petite, so I maybe put like Nana Petite in the top, so that way it's like the top of a tree structure, and then I can always do the moss as the trunk. And I think if you keep it scaped well, to where you can see the definition of the two trunks, and then have the Nana Petite as like the top canopy, like I feel like there's a lot of things I can do with this. And I want to test it, and maybe it becomes something that's really cool and it works out awesome and people love it, and then maybe it's something I can sell as a pre-planted, like you buy this thing, it's got, if the Nana Petite works and the moss, you get all of it, and then from there you can propagate that out into other tanks in your house. I'm thinking like business-wise, it'd be super sweet to be able to buy this um, as like a centerpiece, if you could put this right into your tank, and because I would have to grow it all out in my tank, it would all be submerged grown, so it'd be perfect for, especially somebody new to the hobby, where they can just buy it and then they have something that's kind of scaped-ish looking. But the moss racks are one of the big things I want, just so that way I could start selling moss online. I originally was going to buy the stainless steel mesh that they sell online, and but now that I have the printer, I'm just going to print my own moss racks. And then I printed one that's cool. It's got like a hole in it, so you can put a suction cup on it and put it on your glass. I would love to be able to, like, I can do it, and if I can't do it, then my dad definitely can. He's really good with CAD. Redesign it to put a magnet in it, so that way you can suction cup the moss ledge. That's what they're called, the moss ledge, to your glass. And if you ever need to move it, you can just slide the magnet on the glass up to the top. Your moss ledge will go up to the top. You can trim it and then move it back down. Like, I think that would be a really great idea. So I'm going to work on a custom design for that. And then I also want to do a custom, like, wraparound, like a corner ledge. So instead of just having the square ledge on the glass, have it be like curved, maybe like a boomerang or something, and have it in the corner. And I feel like that could be dual purpose, not only to grow out moss, but it's like a feeding place for shrimp. But if you keep it kind of low to your substrate, it's almost like an overhang cave for shrimp to go under. So I think that would be a product that I really can stand behind, and that's something I want to get going. Anytime I needed anything printed, my dad's done it for me. He likes doing this stuff. He's retired, so he likes fiddling around just like I do. But once I got that vision of having like the cool wraparound moss ledges, I don't want to have my dad try to like print me 1,000 of them. That's an exaggeration, but I don't want to take up all of his time printing and then have to get him materials and his time. This thing took 9 hours and 15 minutes to print, and that's a long time. So if you figure if the printer's tied up for 9 hours just doing this one piece, and let's just say I end up making this a product, and you have to take into consideration this also took, I forget, it tells you when you go to print it, it tells you how much filament you're going to need, and it took a lot of filament and a lot of time, so that's all something they get to figure into a price. So I didn't want to have to deal with that and putting that on my dad of getting him the filaments and then paying him for his time and stuff like that. So that's one of the reasons I bought my own printer. Jess said like shrimp steps. So yeah, they had another one. I think it was just like a planter ledge, but it was like a planter ledge tree, and it was the round moss ledges that were on a single pole, and they were kind of stepped around going up. I thought that was kind of cool. It's not something that I would see myself using aesthetically, because it just, to me, like having it, I guess I would have to see it grown out, because they didn't have a picture of it planted. It was just like the plastic there, and looked like way too out of place, I would think, in an aquarium. But maybe with like moss going on it and kind of overhanging it, it would look really cool. Um, my Christmas moss has been growing out like super long, and it'd be cool if you could make like a willow tree where it would come out and then the moss would come down and hang, but the moss is trying to grow up towards the light, so I don't think it would really work. Sherry says at Steven, love the 3D printing ideas. So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about it, and if you guys have been following me at all for a while, you know I love like building stuff. I am a mechanic, so I love like tinkering, and I think this is like another way I can keep my interest peaked in the hobby, um, by designing stuff and then being able to print them. And they have like anything you could think of. You can print like a breeder box, intake filters. Um, they have under gravel filters. You can print a whole under gravel filter. There's so much you can do. I'm not really seeing a purpose for any of that stuff right now, but I think plant related, especially with the moss ledges, like that's my like driving force right now is doing those. Rob Bowl is here. He says, "Good day, Steven. Good day, Fishaholics." Rob, I hope it's going well for you. What time is it there, Rob? It's 11 p.m. here. Let me see. Jess says that's a long time. Yeah, 9 hours is a long time. The small round moss ones print, I think it's like 20 minutes. And I just found, like, I just got this 3D printer yesterday. Yes, yesterday. I was thinking it was 2 days ago. I got it yesterday. So I've only printed a few things, and this one was the big one, and it just got done. And no mistakes. I really like it. And I'm still learning. Like, there's a learning curve on setting, like, how it all works. Like, you have to program it to tell it, like, how much plastic you want to put into it. Like, are these tubes going to be hollow or not hollow? And, like, it's strong. Like, you can squeeze this thing, which I thought it'd be really brittle. Like, thinking, like, this is printed, like, it's going to be brittle. No, it's actually really, really strong. Like, I don't know, I just thought that the way it prints in layers, it would be brittle, and it's not, which is great. Here's another fishy thing. So I'm about to drink some coffee. This is decaf because I gotta get up in 6 hours. Went to Nashville a few weeks ago for my aunt's birthday party. Had a fantastic time in Nashville. It was great. And I rented a Yukon XL. It's like the extra long one. It's like a Suburban. Rented one of those from my work, and I picked my aunt up and drove her down to Nashville for her birthday. And that was like my birthday present to her. Was I rented this like super nice, like had heated seats and cooled seats, and like had everything that like you could take your hands off the wheel and it would steer in the lane, even though you're not supposed to do that. You could. So I asked for like the most luxurious car you can rent as a big SUV, and that's what I got. I was supposed to get an Escalade, but they were actually out, so that was like the comparable model. So, anyways, she got me this mug. It's kind of like a thank you present, and I thought it was super awesome. It's got my my old logo. This is what I started off with. I still use it. Whenever I ship a package, I put one on the outside of the package, just as advertising. Like here's a package that needs to go out. So, I just stick it on the box. I'm trying to use up the old labels. The new logo is this one, which is on the channel. These are the stickers that go in all the orders. They're non-permanent, so you can put these on like a glass fish tank, and then if you ever want to take it off, it peels off. These go in the orders, and then I have a bunch of these rolls of smaller versions, and these are what are going to go onto the exterior of the packages when I ship them out. This is what's replacing the square sheets. It's cheaper to buy them in the rolls. And like, I placed an order, and I thought it'd just be a big roll, but they only put so many on rolls, so I have a bunch of these rolls now. So yeah, but yeah, this is my my new coffee mug, and it's got my logo and it's got my initials, Stephen Conroe, and then the J's for junior. I am a junior. Let me catch back up. Crystal's Pets and Plants is here. How's it going, Crystal? Jess says my Honda Odyssey has 15 cup holders and seats 7. So yeah, I don't know how many cup holders that thing had. It was 3, 4, 5, 6. It was a 7-seater, so it was 3 rows, but the second row was like captain's chairs, which was nice because being like the XL, we were able to, once we got down to Nashville, we rented a house, and it was on this river. I forget the name of the river. It's the river that goes like right through Nashville. And we rented a house on the river. It had a dock. You could have rented a boat. We didn't do that. You could have rented their boat. And we went fishing. Me and my cousins got up early and went fishing in the morning. And we... Rob said, someone at Honda can't math. That's more cup holders than possible hands. It's for thirsty people, Rob. Yeah, what it is for now is all the kids with their cell phones. They can throw their cell phones in the cup holder. QSA is here. How's it going, bud? So, yeah, so I'm super excited about doing the 3D prints. And they have, like pleco caves and shrimp caves, and there's all sorts of stuff that you can print off. And the thing that you got, like, I got to watch out for is a lot of it's open source or open, I guess the word would be like copyright, and then some stuff's not. So like it's licensed for personal use but not for commercial. So that's like something you got to watch out for. So if it's licensed for personal and not commercial, then I won't be. I could print it and use it here, but I wouldn't be able to sell them. But I could definitely print it off, get an idea, and then just do my own personal design of it. I'm trying to see. Their website is so slow. Alright, I'm gonna hop you guys back over. QSA says it's going great. That's awesome to hear. Tiffany says probably the Cumberland River. That sounds probably right. Oh, here's the thing about where we stayed in Nashville. So we were just outside of Nashville. Rent this house because there were, I can't remember how many of us there were, 16 of us I think, and it was like 5 bedrooms, 6 bedrooms, maybe more, I forget. It was like 3 stories, and it was super cheap for all of us. On the side of the river we were at, just on the other side was like a town that had everything. Like anytime you Google search, and this was effed up. So anytime you Google search something, it would say like, oh, it's like 3 miles away. And the distance wasn't like through the roads, it was like direct distance. So when I see 3 miles away, I'm like, all right, cool, that's a 3-minute drive. No. So the first night there was only 4 of us. There was 4 of us. It was myself, my aunt, my brother-in-law, and then my cousin that came up. He's in the military and just got done with officer school, and he came up, and that was the first night. It was just us. So we went downtown, went to the bars, and we drank quite a bit. Next morning, I decided to DoorDash everybody breakfast. And I'm like, so I opened DoorDash, and it's like Cracker Barrel's 3 miles away. I'm like, all right, let's do Cracker Barrel. Like, that's easy. It's breakfast food. I'll have it delivered. It was like 2 hours later. So, even though it said it was 3 miles away, there was no bridges anywhere close to the house. So, the DoorDash person, I felt so bad for him. And it was that was a terrible experience for me because I ordered it and it's like, yeah, it'll be there in 45 minutes. I'm like, okay, makes sense. It was like 2 hours later. I got a text message from the DoorDasher saying that, sorry, I didn't know where you lived. It's going to take longer than expected. So I did like a Google directions and it was like a 45-minute, I think, drive by itself. And then maybe they like went the different way or something and it took longer. But you had to drive so far to find a bridge to get across this river to get to like anything, like any food, any restaurants. Luckily, there's a gas station on our side of the river to get like small things if needed. But so I told the DoorDasher, I was like, yeah, I just found out like this house we rented like is super far away because of the bridges. I'm gonna give you a cash tip because I already tipped through the app. I'm like, I'm gonna give you a cash tip on top of it. Well, it said that they were like 45 minutes away. We ran to the store. I think we went to go get like Dunkin' coffee or something, and they actually dropped off the food by the time I got back, and we missed them, so I didn't give them the cash tip. And I texted them like, hey, like, I didn't forget your tip. Like, I wasn't ignoring you because my cousin was the one that picked up the order. And I never heard back. So I felt really bad about that. Because that person got whatever the preset tip is, like $7 or $6 online. And I was going to give them like another $20 for driving like 40 minutes or whatever. Let me see. Rob says, I decided to spoil my fish the last 3 days and give them 3 different frozen live foods. Wouldn't it just be like frozen food? I don't think they're going to be alive if they're frozen. I know what you mean, though. They're going to be so disappointed today. Back to the pellets and one live food. What are the 3 foods? Like bloodworms, Daphnia, I guess brine shrimp too. The only frozen foods I will do, I just mainly do bloodworms. I have another frozen food that's for my salt tank, for my clownfish. But I don't even know what's in it. It's like a mixture of sea stuff. Why is my chat defaulting to top chat again? I said it earlier, I swear. Oh, so here, I'm going to switch you guys over. I meant to do that. Rob says, bloodworms, brine shrimp, and shrimp. Yes. So I actually have, I don't know if there's like baby shrimp, but when I had my, what was I feeding those to? Might have been my figure 8 puffer. I was feeding it like little itty bitty shrimp. And I still have some. Maybe it's krill. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Rob says he does Daphne and krill sometimes too. Yep. Good stuff, man. I just kind of do it as a treat. Because frozen foods can add up quickly. Because I usually take the 1 cube, I'll thaw it out, and then I'll use my tweezers and put a little bit in each tank. But by the time I do 30 tanks, 1 cube doesn't last. Alright, so this is actually one my dad printed me. It's actually still in my truck. I need to get it out. And he printed it in, he's got brown, so it looked just like this. And, you know, it's just like a fake log. But I thought it'd be cool, like, if you could, basically take this design idea and then maybe put like my idea was to like cut a groove into it, like design a groove into the top to where you can plant like a nubius that has a rhizome and have it follow that groove. And I thought that'd be pretty cool. Or even have it slotted so the roots can go down into the log. Might be something different. Just gotta go get pajamas on. So yeah, they have like these like pleco caves, and I'm trying to see. I kind of like this one. I might try to print that. My dad printed me off one of those like hexagon style. Like that's pretty cool. I don't see it. I could have swore I searched for shrimp the other day, and it worked. And then tonight it's saying no results. There's really so much. It's crazy. Yeah, see, this is their server. Their server sucks. So, does anybody have any cool plans this weekend? I know last live stream we were talking about people. I asked people what they would want to buy next for their fish room or their hobby if you only have one fish tank or whatever. Did anybody make any progress on their wishes? Rob says, I only have 7 tanks set up, 2 empty, so frozen foods don't really make that big of a dent in the wallet. $14 every 6 months or so. Yeah, that's nice. So I've been actually, my pea puffers, they were kind of an impulse buy. I bought 3 of them. I still have all 3. I've had them for months and months now. They were impulse buy. I thought they were like super awesome looking, and I use them to keep my pond snails under control. I have 2 tanks with pond snails. I hate pond snails. And it's weird because I have ram's horns and I love ram's horns. Like, I don't know, pond snails just annoy me. And I don't know what it is. I think it's just because, like, in my aquariums, they stay pretty small. I put some purposely outside my pond, and they got pretty big. But the ones in my aquarium stay pretty small. And but they just drive me nuts. So when they stay to like where my auto feeder is. They kind of like know that's where the food is, and at night they all kind of congregate over there. So when I flip on the light first thing in the morning, usually like most of them are on one side of my tank, and then I can take my net and slide up the glass and catch a ton, and then I dump those into my pea puffer tank, and that's what I feed them. So they got really spoiled having live snails all the time. So I try to get them off of that because my goal is to eventually get rid of the pond snails. And so I tried bloodworms, and I tried dropping in frozen cube because my other fish, like I can drop in frozen bloodworms and they'll just attack it and go after it, and it thaws out in the water and they eat it. They wouldn't do nothing. The bloodworms thawed out, and I thought the frozen would help with like. I don't think they really have the overgrown beak issue, but just in case, I thought it would help with their teeth and being frozen. But they didn't touch it. Come back an hour later, there's a pile of bloodworms in the middle of the substrate. So I had to pull that out. But I started thawing them out, and then I started spacing out how often I give them snails. So I figured if they get hungry enough, they're going to eat. So finally, they are now eating bloodworms, which is good because if I ever go on a lengthy vacation and I'm worried about them not eating, then I can have somebody give them frozen bloodworms. But like Nashville, I was gone Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I was gone 5 days. Didn't have anybody check on anything at my house, which I wasn't worried about because water changes are done with Alexa. The tanks in my house, like the beta tank and the ones in my family room, they're not on auto water change, but never really concerned. They're all planted and they're all mature tanks. So, but my fish room is on auto water change. Nothing I had to do there. I use auto feeders on not every tank, but my heavy stock tanks have auto feeders, and with my tanks that aren't on auto feeders, the 2 days before I went on vacation, I heavily fed them, multiple times a day. I typically feed on my lunch break and then when I get home from work, but before vacation, I fed morning. I added the morning to that. So I just tried to fatten up the fish, and they were fine. I didn't have a single loss. And when I say a single loss, like some people might think like, oh, that's terrible that you would have even one loss. Well, I have like hundreds and hundreds of fish now. Um, yeah, like tequila sunrise guppies, I have hundreds and hundreds. Like there's tons of them. They are now in 4 tanks worth, and they're heavily stocked tanks. I did bring in, I don't know if I mentioned, I broke down the outside pond a few weeks ago. The temperatures were just getting really low. I didn't want to heat that pond. It was just an inflatable pool. Something that wasn't even supposed to be a pond. It was supposed to be for my Dalmatian puppy. She didn't really care for the water, so it turned into green water, and then it turned into, hey, let's make this a pond. Caught all the fish out of that, and they're in a 10-gallon aquarium inside the house now, so they're heated. And it really allowed me to see how they look after being raised, like bred and raised outdoors. And they were from culls, so that's what I ended up putting in the pond was cull fish, like stuff I didn't want to just like throw away, but stuff that I had some female guppies that had like bent spines, and they were swimming fine, like eating like I guess healthy fish. They just had the bent spine, so I tossed them in there. I'm like, you know what? If they survive, awesome. If they don't, it's whatever. And they bred like crazy. And the offspring, not a single one has a bent spine. So I don't necessarily know if a bent spine is a genetic defect or if it comes from being inside their mother, like, and they're wrong and it grows bent. I don't know what it is, but not a single one of their babies had a bent spine. So that's kind of cool to know that even if it is genetic, it's not like every single one's going to have it because they didn't. I do have one fish. It's kind of like Wags, which I think is at Haley's house now. It's basically missing its tail. When I emptied the pond, I found a ton of dragonfly, like larvae. Those things are like hideous. I remember seeing them like in their like first stage of whatever it would be called, like pupil or whatever. And I was like, what is this thing? Like, it looks vicious. And I sent a picture to Lucas, and I was like, what is this thing? Like, it looks like it's an alien. And he's like, it looks like a dragonfly larvae. And so I looked it up, and that's what it was. But man, like, once they start growing up, they went from like vicious looking to like burn the pond down. It was like worse than having a spider. And I think one of them got a baby guppy because the guppy was really small. It's probably like the third generation from that pond. But he just swims around like without a tail. Like, he doesn't struggle at all. So that's like my version of Wags, I guess. So I'm keeping him. He's not going anywhere. So he eats. I make sure he gets his food, and he devours the tropical granules for sure. Let me catch you back up. GRB Aquatics, what's up, buddy? Soggy pits. I feed my pea puffer, snails, and scuds, and bloodworms. So, Soggy, I have a question for you on that. Are the scuds like alive? Or are they like frozen? Can you get frozen scuds? I don't even know. Snails are just like super easy. I'm actually to the point. So my 30-gallon tank that's in my family room, it was my original like guppy tank. That's kind of like what got me into the Tequila Sunrise guppies. Um, that's the tank I pull all the pond snails from, and I'm debating on doing one of two things. The first thing is the safe thing to do, and that's to pull all the guppies out, move them into the fish room with the other Tequila Sunrise guppies, which I probably should do anyways, and then putting the pea puffers into that tank and just letting them go to Hometown Buffet and pig out on all the snails that are in that tank. Let them clean that tank out and then leave them in there for a few more weeks to make sure that there's no stragglers, because those snails drive me bonkers. So that's option one. Option two is, do I put the pea puffers in with the guppies? So I don't think the pea puffers would necessarily go after the adult guppies, but it's a breeding colony, so there are almost always fry, and I know that they are very prey driven. So when I feed live brine, like the adult brine, they will chase them around the tank and grab them. And so I think that they would definitely go after the guppy fry, which I don't want. So I think it'd be really awesome to be able to test out, like, hey, I have pea puffers with guppies and they coexist, because there's so much snails in there for them to eat that they wouldn't be interested in fish. But I know that the guppy fry would be targeted, so I think it's going to be a musical fish, like Jess said, type situation. GRB says, similar to here, Pam, but I am Celsius. Pam, you're at 15 degrees. Well, Pam's going to be Fahrenheit, but still 15 degrees, like, that's cold. Yeah, I won't complain about our weather right now. What is going on? This. QSA says, doing great. Tiffany, I did a live stream earlier at 7 p.m. Aquascaping the tank on Rio Grande River tank. Think about doing another brackish water tank. Brackish tank would be awesome, QSA. Okay, so Soggy says he keeps his pea puffers with his least killifish and don't have any problems. Oh. When you said at least it's not minus 15, I didn't realize you already were at minus 15. That's... I mean, it's November, but, like, for the past few years, our, like, November and December have typically been kind of mild. And I swear it's like the seasons are rotating. Like, people are saying global warming. We still get our winter. It's just no longer the typical, like, December, January, February. It's more like February, March, April now, it seems like, at least for here in Ohio. But I think last year we didn't get like an enormous amount of snow, but it was stupid cold, like, for a long time. It was to the point where I'm like, if it's this cold, I want it to snow, so at least there's stuff I can do. Like, I can get the four-wheeler out, we can, pull a sled with it, take the truck out and do donuts, stuff like that. But, like, when it's miserably cold and there's no snow, that just, it's a downer for me. But, like, 2 winters ago, I think we, like, set a record for the amount of snow. But it didn't seem that bad. Like, the city was on top of their, like, plow game that year. and all of our snow, I think it happened like in like 2 or 3 snow systems, so it wasn't like spread out. Go to sleep, Steven. You can't be driving all sleepy. What are you talking about? That's why I have my coffee. GRB says, have you thought of flagfish for your brackish setup? Zen Ginger said it got below 40 degrees in South Texas last night. That's basically hell freezing over. I don't even know what it is right now. Right now it's 35 degrees and it feels like 32. It's supposed to get to 29 degrees tonight. Shit. I never winterized my boat yet. That's not good. I will have to do that tomorrow. It's a pretty solid motor. Like, I think it'll be all right, but I definitely need to do that. That's not good. What's the weather? I don't even know what the weather is for tomorrow. High of 50 tomorrow. So 29 tonight, 50 tomorrow. Next weekend, 22 degrees. Not about that yet. Not about that at all. QSA says maybe doing red rose minnows and goldfish tank. So what you guys think? Doing a saltwater tank with my 40-gallon breeder, but I'm thinking of using it as a temporary saltwater holding tank. So I have one saltwater tank, and it's a nano tank. It's my first saltwater tank. I've had it almost a year now. I got it for Christmas last year. My mom basically bought it for me, and if I ever do a saltwater tank, it will never be a small tank again. It's going to be like 100+ gallon. It's been a pain in my butt. I actually want to get rid of that tank. I want to get rid of the livestock. I want to rehome the fish out of it, and then actually want to use that. I really love the tank. It's one of the Fluval Spec C's or whatever, and I love the tank. I want to repurpose it to freshwater and use it as a shrimp tank and do a cool little nano aquascape with it. It sits on the it's like a peninsula in my kitchen. It sits on that counter, and I just really love it. You can see it from all 3 sides. So if you're in the kitchen, you can see it. If you're in the dining room, you can see it. And if you're in the family room, you can see it. So I really just want it as a shrimp tank. That's what I want. So I like to get rid of it and not have salt water and have to deal with it, quite honestly. But if I were to ever do salt water in the future, I don't have any plans to do it. It's a huge rabbit hole. It's I keep it cheap because I only have livestock. I don't do corals, but I know that as soon as you do corals, the money's getting thrown into that tank. I am on a Facebook group for saltwater tanks, and I just watch what people post, and I don't ever really post anything on it. But some of the tanks that these people have, the setups, like their sump tank is the cost of my fish room. Like the amount of stuff that they put into with like all these reactors and all their dosers, and they have all these systems that automatically test the water parameters, and it gets like displayed. They have like you open the sump panel, so like the front of the cabinet of the tank, and there's an iPad mounted that displays like the tank parameters, like an iPad, and like you can get really crazy with salt. So I don't want to go that route. Getting sleepy, but let me close that. Okay. So I guess another fishy related thing I saw. Oh, I have a fish rescue. They did a live stream tonight before Lucas. I think it was like 7:30 or something like that Eastern time. So if you're not subscribed to them, make sure you subscribe and turn that notification bell on. They said, I think Josh said that they're going to try to do it on Fridays, but it's kind of like up in the air. I don't think it's like a set time or date or anything like that. It'd be nice if they do like a set time, because I don't think there's anybody before Lucas. So it'd be nice for them to kind of fill in that time slot. And I get so distracted. So I was catching up on the chat. So Sagi is in Phoenix, and it's only 56 tonight. My one of my good friends lives in Phoenix. I think it's the Chandler area, maybe. Just as I'm with you on that, Steven. If I do salt, it's going to be a big tank. But she wants a Texas cichlid first, though. Soggy says that's why I can't justify saltwater tanks. So, I have the initial investment in like buying the tank, I did the crushed coral substrate, just some rocks. It's just hardscape. There's nothing else in it. But like, the coral to saltwater is like plants to the freshwater. It's like we hardscape and then we put plants in there to have, your decoration, the benefits of having live plants in your tanks. Well, that's what they do with corals, but with corals, like, they don't have just easy green. I mean, there's some like all-in-one type feeders you can use, or fertilizers, but like they have to target dose a lot of like certain corals, and that's just when you start getting down like having, like, I saw a tank with like 8 different auto dosing nozzles, and it's like for all different types of things, and I'm like, I don't want to get into that. Although I did I did see some of the sump systems where they do like the color piping and stuff, because they show off their sumps. Like, they want everybody to see. It's like a Ferrari. They want to show off all the money they invested. So like they'll have like glass cabinets, or like, it's super nice. Like, I really appreciate the time and effort people put into the sump systems to make them really nice and presentable. And but like that intrigues me, like plumbing, all that stuff. And they use like the color PVC pipe, which looks really nice. Some of them, like, I forget what color it was. Like, it was like gray and red, but like the pricing of it was like super expensive. And I'm like, see, if it were me, I just spray paint it, like mask off, like, because like the elbows might be one color. Like, I saw one guy, I think he had red PVC pipe with gray fittings. I'm like, I would just mask off the fittings and spray paint the pipes red and call it a day. But like, they're buying like pre-made color PVC, and it's gotta be expensive. Okay, so QSA streams at 7 on Fridays. Just says, tough to keep the ocean and glass box indoors. I'm a terrible saltwater keeper. And if I can keep my clownfish like healthy and happy, like I feel like if you've been in the freshwater hobby for any amount of time and you're good at it, you can definitely do a saltwater tank with no corals. I'll put that out there with no corals. I don't have corals, so I can't, comment on that aspect of the hobby. But keeping saltwater correct with livestock, and I have 3 fish in that tank, so it's not like it's crazy bioload, and they're all small fish. But it was worth the experience. I just lost interest in that tank, and I don't know, like I've never rehomed fish, and I did it to my cichlids a few weeks ago, and it was kind of like one of those. I was on the fence of doing it because I got rid of all my cichlids, but I got rid of my first. It was my first fish that brought me back into the hobby. It was my blue acaras, my electric blue acaras, and I kind of like had like fleeting thoughts on it. Do I really want to get rid of my first fish? Like, and I just talked myself into doing it because I didn't really enjoy that tank anymore. The convicts destroyed all the plants that were in that tank, and then I was starting to get tank swings from not having plants in it. That tank was super mature, had no issues with it, and then like they ate all the plants, and then I was starting to get blue green algae. I'm like, I'm tired of looking at this tank now, and I just really want to redo the tank. And the more I thought about it, the cichlids didn't come into any of my plans, so I rehomed them to a biochemist that's in the fish club, my local fish club. So they went to a great home, and I don't feel terrible. I mean, I feel a little bad getting rid of them, but I don't feel terrible. But with the saltwater tank, I just want to get rid of them. I had one guy that messaged me about them, but I kind of like Facebook stalked him to see like what his tanks were, and it turned out he didn't have any saltwater tanks. Um, I saw one of his posts saying he wants to do a saltwater tank. I'm like, I'm all about like rehoming my fish, but I don't want to like rehome them to like certain death. So I lied and told him that somebody else beat him to the fish, and and it's possible that he'll be a great saltwater keeper. Maybe he's like me and has a ton of freshwater tanks and he'll do just fine, but I just don't want to take the risk on that. And Rob says I could do a saltwater tank, but I'm way too lazy for that sheet. Yeah, the problem I'm having is that Fluval spec has a light that's designed to grow like low level corals. So what that turns out to be is it's super powerful for like a tank light, like what I'm used to. It's equivalent to having like a Fluval 3.0 on like full blast, right? So what it does is it grows like, I guess it's algae, saltwater algae, whatever. I don't know what it's called. It grows it like extremely well. So I have to clean the glass like at least once a week, like every 4 days. I bought a nano flipper with a blade, and that's like the only thing that works is having the blade attachment. And it's just like so high maintenance. Just cleaning the glass, like that's my biggest complaint. It's just keeping the glass clean, and because the water is like crystal clear, the water is awesome, but the algae just grows like super crazy, and I don't like overfeed that tank. It's just that light is just so powerful, and that's why I'm over that tank. Is just the maintenance on it, just to keep it presentable to like be able to enjoy the fish. It's just so much. Like none of my other tanks I have to ever scrub. Like the ram's horns take care of it, and the tanks are mature enough to where everything just like, when I say mature, I mean like everything just balances out. Like the bio load with like nitrates in the plants like grow big enough to like absorb all of the extra nutrients. It just all like levels out, and then there's like no issues at all. Because like on a new tank, I'll get like an algae spike because the plants haven't like grown big enough to really absorb all the extra nutrients in the water. But once they do, it just like levels out, and then I never have like algae issues again. Sherry Berries has 2 low-tech brackish tanks for eels and flounder. They're not too much trouble. So with brackish, I'm assuming it'd be like, so what I do on my saltwater tank is I bought a bunch of like 1 gallon distilled water containers from like Kroger, and I use that for my salt water. So I take a 5 gallon bucket, I mix my salt water, and then I fill up 5 of the 1 gallon jugs, and they go in the cabinet that's underneath my salt tank. So I use that for like when I do water changes. Because the nice thing about salt water is that the salt doesn't evaporate. So for like topping off, I just top off with fresh water, just straight from my fish room. When I do water changes, since I'm pulling out salt, then I use the fresh salt water. I'm assuming with brackish it's the same thing, other than topping off. Because if you top off, well, no, because it would still be salt water. It's just really low levels of salt. So how do you top off your salt or your brackish setup? Do you just add water back to it, or do you have to remix it at all? I don't know what the brackish salinity level is. Rob says my whole fish keeping philosophy is keep the fish healthy with the least possible effort. Yes, I'm Rob. You and I are on the same page. That's why Alexa runs my fish room. You know, Haley and I joke about it, and Lucas and I joke about it. Haley's like, I don't have, Alexa to take care of my stuff. She's like, I am Alexa. I do the wire changes. Like, so I use, I'm pro the Wi-Fi switches. So like all my lighting, sump pumps, everything's on Wi-Fi switches. So if I want to turn off a wave maker in my Pleco tank, I can do it from my cell phone. Like, the wave maker is set up on multiple times a day where it runs for an hour, then turns off for an hour. And I do all that through my phone because it's super easy. Like buying like mechanical timers that you put on a power strip, like there's no need for that. Not with the Wi-Fi switches. And what's awesome is the Wi-Fi switches pair into, if you have like the Google Home, the Echoes, the Alexa, you can just say, hey Alexa, turn on my fish lights. And I did that when Lucas was here, when he was at my house. I think it was after 10 o'clock at night, and that's when my family room lights turn off. So when he got here, we were talking about lights or whatever, and I went to show him my tank. It's like, all the lights are off. I'm like, hang on. I'm like, Alexa, turn on the 75-gallon. And boom, the lights turn on. It's instant, too. And then same thing with my fish room. Those lights go out at 10 o'clock. So I was like, Alexa, turn on my my fish room. And then boom, the lights kick on. And then for water changes, they sell their solenoids for water, and they sell them at 100, like in 120 volts for here in the U.S. So you can just plug that into the Wi-Fi switch. So you can say, Alexa, do water change. It kicks that solenoid on, and then my water flows through the tanks. And there's, lights, pumps, everything. Let me see. Rob says, I'm pretty confident that if I spend the time, I could get a crazy good marine setup going. But it's just the effort required to keep it healthy. No thanks. Give me convenience or give me death. I got a message here from GRB. He says, that's Stephen Conroe. A simple salt tank with just one piece of live rock can be fascinating watching all the critters appear on or from the live rock. Yeah, so I don't think I put live rock in that tank. I think that rock I bought like 3 pieces, and I made, like, I got 2 kind of vertical, and then like one like across it like a bridge. They're angled a little bit, and they're actually really nice pieces. I think I just got that at my local fish store. And I really love the hardscape of it all. And I really want that to be a shrimp tank. And so I really want to, rehome the livestock out of that. Obviously, I have to like super clean the tank. And I'm not going to bleach it or anything. I feel like I can get away with heavily rinsing it. And even if there is salt left over, it'd be beneficial for fish. So, like my guppies, I think I'll probably do is put guppies in there as my, let's say the testers. Make sure everything's good. Let them cycle the tank. Put some ram's horns in there. After like a month of everything going well, then move in some shrimp. Okay, so Sherry says that she tops off. I top off with tap water and do the salt water half strength with RODI water. Okay. GRB says I live 300 meters from the ocean, so easy access to salt water, sand, rock, critters. So simple sponge filter. Change some water each week. So simple. Yeah. So that's definitely like 2,000 points to the beneficial side of being that close. Yeah, that would actually. I wonder if, like, is there any laws about, like, say if you had a house on a beach, is there any laws about, like, if you ran a pipe to the ocean and, like, have water come into your fish room and then, like, discharge back out? Like, I don't feel like there'd be anything wrong with taking water from the ocean, but I don't know about sending it back if, like, the feds would get on you about that for whatever reason. I feel like it would be something stupid because I know there's some states that tax you, and I know there's also cities where it's illegal to catch rainwater off your roof. And I was reading about some place that they get like a tax or a permit or something to do it. Like it's rainwater off your own roof. Like the government shouldn't be involved in that. Rob said, bought a super cheap 4-foot LED aquarium light. Was touch operated. I thought it wouldn't make a difference, but basically means I can't use a timer. So I know what you mean because I have a not my first tank. My first tank was the 75, the 30-gallon, my guppy breeder tank. It's a Fluval tank that the outlet store had the whole kit and caboodle for like $100, I think it was, and like retail on that kit was originally I think like 300. It had come down in price, but like $100 was a steal. So I was like, all right, I'm buying it. It's got a nice like lid system and the lights built into it, and it's one of those touch buttons. And it's the same thing. If power goes out, it defaults to off. There's no like memory setting. It's off, on, and then like blue like nighttime light. Soggy Pits says, gotta go. Good night, everybody. See you. Soggy Pits, have a good one. But yeah, so I've already thought about putting a Fluval 3.0 on that system anyways. Because I've already modified the lid. One of those things I saw online were people putting like sweet potatoes in their aquariums. Like you mount it to the top and then like just have a little bit hanging in and it grows roots. I did that. It was super awesome. It grew like crazy, but after like a few months, it just finally started like rotting out or whatever, and then I ended up getting blackbeard algae from it. And once I removed it, I got rid of the blackbeard algae. Had no problems after that. But I feel like there's a life cycle to those potato plants in your aquarium. But yeah, so I already modified the lid. But that light's good. Like I got pogo octopus in it, and it grows like super well. But I also have Java Fern that's been in there for like 2 years now, and I don't think it's grown like any bigger than it originally came in. It was actually from Aquarium Co-op, and it like melted back hard when I first got it, and then it's back to like the size it was when I first got it, but it's not really growing anymore. There's plenty of nutrients in that tank for sure. The pogo's growing like crazy. Granted, Java Fern's a slow grower, but my like Anubias grows like weeds, not like weeds, but it grows very quickly in my rack system. Rob says he needs more automation in your life. Dude, I'm telling you, it's awesome. It's awesome to be able to control your fishy things from wherever in the world. Obviously, as long as you have power and Wi-Fi at your house. Like from Nashville, I have a camera in my fish room now. So I have a security system for the house, and then it has like it's ring doorbell. I have the ring doorbell. I have the floodlight camera in my driveway, and then they came out with the new indoor cams. So I put one in my fish room, so I can see my fish room from anywhere in the world, and it records. It basically records 24/7 because it records movement, and I have it set to very high sensitivity, so it's basically recording nonstop in the fish room. So that way, if like I ever have a tank blow out or anything, I'll hopefully catch it on video. But the ring also has a flood alarm. It's a sensor that sits on the floor, and if it gets wet, it sets off my alarm. It emails me, it texts me, and they call me. So I've already flooded my fish room once or twice, and this was my solution to doing that. And so that way, if I'm on vacation or if I'm out of town, if for some reason there's a flood, I'll get a phone call, and I'll get alert like my alarm system's going off. But then I can go into that camera and be like, what's leaking? Like, oh shit, it's a tank blew out. Because when I go on vacation, the most water that can leak from the filling station is 50 gallons. It's a 55-gallon drum. It's actually less than that. It's probably like 45 gallons. It's the max that could technically leak. It's not always being run off of the actual water line, so it's not like you burst a pipe and it's just your house pumping water nonstop. I use that storage system. Hey, River Life's here. What's up, Rack? I'm at $2.99 on subs. I didn't even know I was up at $2.99 now. That's awesome, though. Someone hit this boy up on their phone or something. Oh, Rob, cracking me up. But yeah, so but the worst case scenario as far as a tank leak for me is my rack system 2. That's the whatever it is, 200 something gallons, the flow through system. It's 520s, and 610s. So 260 gallons. If one of those tanks go down, then I'm losing a lot of water in that room. Hey Rack. Jess says, "Hey Rack, I messaged you my info on Facebook." Ooh, is this like some dating info? Jess, you're married. Oh, let's see. Catch up on this. Oh my gosh. I still don't know how people can live stream with like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people at once. Like I know John, when he does his live stream, he talks about like having to come back to the chat at the end because it gets distracting, and it's like my ADD. I'll think of like something to talk about, and then also I'm like, oh, I need to like read what's going on in the chat. But Yeah, I couldn't do it. Like when I see Corey with 1,400 live chat people going on, nope. Rack, I saw your live stream. I only got to see it, like the first, I don't know, 10 minutes of it, but I love the costume, bud. QSA says, my dream saltwater fish is yellow tang. I gotta move my mouse. Emperor Angel. But you have to have a larger tank, like a 125 gallon or 225. So speaking of 125s, I have I want to say it's on order. So Rabbit Flip Aquatics, I have a wholesale account with him. Um, I'm looking for a 125, and I reached out to him if he knew of some place I can order one online using my company. Um, and he's just going to order me one when he expands his new fish room. The new building with all the 125s. He has to expand that. He's got to buy more tanks, and then I'm going to pay for one when he orders that in, which works out great because I got to go up to his place anyways to pick up an order. So when I go up there, I'm getting matin filters. So they're on the website. They're sold out right now because I'm waiting for the 125 to come in. Once the 125 comes in, then I'll go pick up that with my truck. And then the matin filters, since I'm buying so many, he can't like ship them to me. It costs a fortune. So I told him I just drive up and pick them up because it's going to be, however they come in a trash bag or plastic bag, whatever. So got 125 coming. I'm still planning to do the water box aquarium, the saltwater tank, but it's going to be freshwater setup. So that might make some salty people salty, but yeah, I think it's going to be sweet. So I know Lucas is in on that project, and depending on the day, Jimmy said he would probably come down too. So I haven't reached out to anybody else if they want to get in on this aquascape. But Lucas, I think, is going to supply the plants. I'm going to supply the hardscape stuff. And Jimmy's going to come down, hang out, and either film or get involved in doing some of the aquascape too. I might reach out to Rob, see if he wants to get in on this action, and go from there. QSA says I would love doing underwater castle with a sinking pirate ship. I saw some of those on the 3D printer site. So River Life Rack, you began the stream. I picked up a 3D printer, and I'm making some. This is going to be plant related. I guess I can catch you up and go back to that website real quick, if it will let me. Oh. What did I just do? So, Rack, you take, this is the 3D print. It's a bonsai tree. You print this, and then you get moss. And we were talking about it in the chat earlier about maybe also doing like Nana Petite on the top. And this is what you end up with. So you start putting the moss in, and then this guy grew it out to this tree, which is pretty cool. I would prefer to maybe keep this cut a little bit tighter to the trunk to make it look more of a tree versus a big clump, but that's the whole idea. And doing some other prints, and I might make some stuff for people to chat. Maybe I'll print their channel name or something and do, I don't know, something like to give back, like how these are like little tags. Like maybe I can do, Jess Shrimp Granny or something and mail them off. Zen says they're Moss starter trunks. GRB says, I don't even know what that is. A whitting tank would be nice, like salty earth eaters. Don't even know what those are. Rack says, funny story, I was hitchhiking Aqua Shell and Steven gave me a ride. I did give Rack a ride. Gave Haley a ride. Yeah, there was this guy on the side of the road and he had a sign that said, homeless need a ride to Aqua Shell. I'm like, why not? No, he was actually at the hotel we were all at, and we were all hanging out in the lobby, and I don't know if they were waiting on a bus, and I'm like, well, I drove here, like, I'm just going to drive to Aqua Shell, and he was there and needed a ride, so I'm like, I'm going to the same place, like, why not? So that's where I met Rack, was in the hotel lobby. I don't know if it was, Rack, was that the first night we met? Did we meet Friday night? I don't even remember. It was a fun weekend, though. I can't wait till next year. I might change my name, though. Where are you going to change your name to? I think the granny throws it off. Like, I remember the first time I saw Just Shrimp Granny, I was expecting you were going to be some old lady. And you're not that old. I mean, you're old, but not that old. I'm just teasing you, though. But for real, though. The granny. You're not Granny. Oh, so that's also, Jess says it was so much fun. For if anybody has missed it, when I was in the lobby talking to Ginger and Tiffany, all I heard was Steven, and then someone's hugging me. I didn't even see who it was before I started getting hugged. Jess says, yeah, I don't have a whole lot of shrimp, and I'm not that old. Well, maybe you should be just fish, not Granny? I don't know. Well, my shrimp had babies. Well, I mean, I see where you're getting the Granny from. My Siri's going off. That's weird. But yeah, it ended up being Jess was hugging me. And she said it was me. So she... So I was just about to say, so she, and then Zen Ginger says, was she drunk at this point? She had been drinking, and I don't think it was fish water. But yes, at this point, I think she was partaking in the adult beverages. Okay, so that makes sense. She said it was after the trip to Aqualand. So on Aqualand, they had drinks like in the party bus and there and everything. So that makes a lot of sense. So that was Friday night. It was not apple juice. Unless it was like that Mike's Hard apple juice or something. But, alright guys, it's after midnight. I got work in the morning, so I need to wrap this up. I could talk forever with you guys. You guys are so awesome. I'm trying to do this live stream every Friday night after Lucas's stream. It's set for 10:45. That's going to be dependent on when his stream ends. If he ends early, my stream will start earlier, and vice versa. If he goes long, then I will start later. But I really do enjoy talking with all you guys. It is like, it's almost like best friends online, just picking up where everybody else leaves off. And what I really like is that people channel hop now, one live stream to the next, and like you see the same people over and over, and it just becomes a really like tight knit group of friends. So it's a lot of fun. Oh, and of course Lucas comes in at the end, but yeah, just in time, bud, for me to say the goodbyes. And we were talking about the 3D prints and stuff tonight, and my ideas with it, and what route I want to go with all that. But appreciate you stopping in here, bud. Rack says he ordered a heater with a discount code tonight. Is that why my phone was going off? Maybe. Yes, that is why my phone's going off. Rack, I really appreciate your order, bud. I'll get you a sticker, because I know I got your sticker from... There goes the phone again. I got your sticker from Aqua, so I'll return the favor to you. And it's not actually, you're not that special. Everybody gets a sticker in an order. Yeah, man, thank you so much for ordering. And that using that discount code saves you the 10% off. And that allows me to track where the orders are coming from. So it really helps me out too. But I just want to say thank you guys all for being here tonight. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I know the winter is hitting us hard, so try to stay warm. Oh, look. It's time to go when Charlotte comes in. She's like, hey, Dad, it's time to go to bed. So, come here. She's deaf. If you guys don't know, you should know by now, but she's deaf. Do you see yourself? But it looks like she's ready for bed. I think this is her I want to go to bed face. So, yeah. Zen says hurry up with the 3D printouts. Yes, so I got more printing right now. Rob Bull says this is your usual time. So yeah, I come on after Lucas. This is the LRB after party, I think is what I have the channel or the stream named. Or maybe not. Friday night fish hangout. But LRB, it's after LRB. So watch his live stream, and then once he's done, that's when I go on. Steven sent extra stickers and I will share. I will send you a bunch, bud. Appreciate it. Lucas says maybe I can give you a couple prototypes to work on, bud. I'm all about tinkering. Send me whatever you want printed. If you need some tweezers printed or whatever you got going on, I can print it for you, bud. No problem at all. Just says a lot of Dalmatians are deaf. Yes, I didn't know that until I got a Dalmatian and I did some research on it, but it turns out a lot of them are. But alright guys, this is why I got to hop off, because I can go on and on and on and on. But thank you guys so much for watching. Rack, thanks for the support, bud. I appreciate it. Your order will be out in the morning. I'll probably actually package it right now for you, and then I'll drop it off at the post office with the other orders. So everybody have a good night, have a good weekend, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks.